Hello, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful podcast featuring me, Casey Garner, and my pal.
And cousin Jeremy Garner.
And shit, this has taken us months and months to finally get off the ground. And here we are.
I think we have the absolute worst luck, Casey. I mean, if somebody will get a phone call or somebody else gets busy, somebody gets called into work, Jesus Christ comes back. It's been ridiculous. I mean,
Fucking,
God knows.
fucking snowstorm of this fucking century over here. And as well as you, you're out in Idaho.
Yeah, my average temperature over the last few weeks has been about -1 or 0. It's been pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and I got pretty close there. It was 16 with a wind chill of 2. And I'm out in Portland, and we don't see shit like that. We have fucking our Portland drivers. They see one snowflake and they have to crank the wheel and go flying into oncoming traffic to avoid the said snowflake.
You get just a little drizzle of the snow, and apparently it's the zombie apocalypse, right? All fucking hell has broken loose.
All complete fucking hell. But
Well,
now the snow has melted. The winds have calmed down. Work has ceased to exist. And here I am, and here you are, and we're together.
well, it's like I said well, I mean, I put it in on my profile with Cage there at Cage Side Seats is that I think of anything between you and I, we've had not necessarily ups and downs in our relationship, and that might sound odd, I guess, saying relationship, but I mean our connection over the years as cousins. I think the one thing that has always stayed constant and a real true staple has been wrestling. I mean, professional wrestling, the sport, the stories that it tells is one thing that has always, intrigued both of us and kept us, close over the years. So this is really exciting to me, even though at 28, going on 29 years of age, I'm still as excited as I was as an 8, 9 year old, in between the porno videos that we had pirated, watching wrestling that we've talked grandma into renting from us at the Sunburst fucking video, wrestling in the fucking living room and then getting yelled at. Or do you remember how many times grandma and grandpa would come in, and obviously this is odd just for anybody who actually ends up listening to this, but they slept in separate bedrooms because they couldn't get along, and my grandmother tended to toss and turn in her sleep, so my grandfather banned her from the room. That didn't work, and he ended up taking the spare bedroom all the way across the house. So in the middle of the night, my cousin and I would be wrestling. We'd get all hopped up on fucking Ruby Red Squirt. I mean, we drank a fucking case apiece. There's still a fucking stain from an ejaculation out of a fucking 2 liter bottle in the fucking ceiling of that bedroom. And they would come into the bedroom, oh, I don't know, probably on average 6 to 7 times throughout the night, all hours, because we'd still be up wrestling, trying different moves on each other, laughing. It was crazy.
And
So
Grandpa would come in and whoop our ass.
So yeah, I think that I love this. Like I said, I'm as excited at 28, going on 29, as I was then, and I'm really glad that pro wrestling can keep a family strong in a way. I think it really tells the story that there's more to it than just a bunch of half naked guys beating up each other.
Yeah, wrestling's something that's definitely kept my head above water. Like the bad times in my life, it's always been there. In fact, the very first memory I have that I can remember is watching wrestling. And when I look back at it, it almost feels like I was there, but I wasn't there. What it was actually me and my dad, my family. We were out at a friend's house and we were watching WrestleMania 3. And I'm pretty sure it was live because that would make sense. It was about, let's see, WrestleMania 3 was March 22nd, 1987. So I was about almost 2 years old. So that gives, yeah, that's about right. Anyways, so I always thought that was kind of cool. I mean, WrestleMania 3 is a lot of things to a lot of people, but it's personal for me.
No, it's a huge event. Absolutely. I wish I had a similar memory like that because you bringing that up, I actually am just sitting here trying to remember, the first time that I watched pro wrestling. And I'll be honest with you, the first memory that I have wasn't from watching it. I I I grew to know wrestling through video games. The very first wrestling that I remember was on regular Nintendo, regular NES. Um, we had a Commodore 64 for a long time. That old joystick driven fucking piece of shit floppy disk drive motherfucker. And we got a regular Nintendo, and it had WWF wrestling, and then it had another no name wrestling, but basically you had blue guys and
Is
red guys.
tag team wrestling.
Yep, tagged in, and they look like
I own that game right now. I
yeah.
have it.
They to me, I always envisioned LOD. When I saw those guys, I always envisioned Legion of Doom. And that's what, but the WWF, I loved it because it had that old MIDI file music going on, and Macho Man would play, Bam Bam Bigelow, Hulk Hogan, the fucking $1 million man. I mean, the $1 million man. Like, I loved fucking Ted DiBiase just because of that fucking picture of his. And then my favorite intro of all time music, hands fucking down. I mean, there's a couple that are good. I mean, that glass break, Stone Cold comes out. I mean, the fucking crowd goes crazy. There's a lot of good intros, but to me, all time great because I got to experience this exact same entrance music was fucking Macho Man Randy Savage. Pomp and Circumstances, baby. I was senior class president. When I graduated high school, they played fucking Pomp and Circumstances, and all I could think about doing was climbing to the top of the bleachers and fucking laying a goddamn elbow drop on somebody. The whole time, I just wanted to fucking whip somebody's ass. I love that. That song, he does his thing. Forevermore, you know, Pofo or Macho Man, I mean, whatever you want to call him, Randy Macho Man Savage, that entrance and that song from that game, that's ingrained in my head. I mean, I played that until my fingers hurt.
Truly a great guy. Truly someone who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I couldn't agree with you more. I like what Vince has done so far this year. I think bringing in Ultimate Warrior was a must. And then, you know,
Paul
Lita,
Bearer.
Bill Paul. I mean, that should have been a given. I mean, I figured that should have happened. But how Macho Man isn't in the Hall of Fame to me is. I mean, it's a slap in the face. I just, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, is this a popularity contest or what are they really trying to do with this? I mean, I understand that you're going to have differences in the business. I mean, shit, if you listen to enough stuff on YouTube or different cuts, promos, videos, whatever, I mean, whether you're listening to anybody in the business from wrestlers, or guys like Jim Cornette or whatever, I mean, everybody fucking hates everybody at some point. Everybody's a rub everybody wrong. It's part of the business. But how a legend, a living legend, helped build the franchise. How is that? How is he? How did he not get that posthumously? I mean, as soon as he passed, I was shocked to see that next induction he wasn't there. He deserves it. He earned that. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, apparently there's a lot of drama going on, like Vince McMahon holding a grudge, and which Vince McMahon has been really forgiving for a lot of people, and just the excuse of Vince McMahon holding a grudge, it doesn't. I don't believe that.
He, and that's funny that the articles that I've read because I've always had a connection with him. Like, I mean, it's so stupid how much that guy meant to me as a child. Like when I played with my friends from school. I mean, obviously, you and I both know we would wrestle each other every single time we got to see each other. I mean, it was crazy. But my friends from school, we we did. I mean, that's it. I mean, my buddy, one of my best friends, Matt Rowland. climbed to the top of his fucking of his porch, the railing on his porch, and he goes, "Hey, hit my brother with a stone cold stunner." And so I stunned his brother Nick, and then Nick's laying there. Matt's comes off the top of his of the railing or of the fence on their porch. It was probably 9 feet in the air, all the way off into the middle of the grass, and lands an elbow right on his brother. I mean, I'll never forget that. I mean, it meant so much to me that when we went bowling, when we'd go bowling, our little celebration ritual when you got a turkey or 3 strikes in a row for those people that don't follow bowling. I know this is a weird correlation with bowling and wrestling, but our celebration for the turkey wasn't what a lot of people would do with the gobble. I would do the Macho Man Randy Savage right there in the middle of the lanes. I'd point up in the air. I'd turn in circles. I'd do the ooh yeah, and then all the bullshit that he would do when he had his fucking Slim Jim commercials, and that we loved him. I mean, that he meant so much to us.
So many wrestlers out there, so many come and gone, but there's very few that even a non-wrestling fan could identify with. Like everyone knows who the fuck Hulk Hogan is. Everyone knows who Stone Cold is. Everyone knows who The Rock is, and Macho Man is another one of those. Everyone knows who the fuck Macho Man is. So
Yeah,
you got Slim Jim commercials.
everybody does. I mean, he from when we were kids and first born, probably since before we were born. Obviously, when he was wrestling as Macho King and and other things, but when we were younger. But he was able to transcend the business. He was. Have you listened to his rap album by chance? Did you
I
ever?
I have not. Maybe a few clips on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. It's got to be one of the most atrocious things I've ever heard. But the song that he did, "Be a Man," Hogan, was probably one of the funniest fucking things I ever heard.
Huh. Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulkster, whatever they call you. I'm coming after you, you coward. I think it damn Hulk leg, you set it off. Set it off. Used to be hard Hulk, now you done turned soft. Doing telephone commercials, I seen ya. Dancing and tight as a ballerina. I knew all along you had those tendencies. Cause you've been running from macho like I got a disease. Dude, blaze your pay-per-view, that was a joke. You're avoiding Randy Savage cause you know you can smoke. Come on, that phony fight the Rock straight too fast. But when I challenged Hogan to a real fight, he passed. I called him out, but the punk was scared to go. It was a charity event, but the Hulk didn't show.
That shit cracked me up. I mean, he transcended the business. He was in Super or Spider-Man rather. But at work when he passed away, the thing it came out on a memo across somebody else in the bit that worked there at the time was into wrestling, and they sent a note out that he had died, and like it to me it affected me. I mean,
Oh, definitely,
it was
definitely.
like when fucking Johnny Cash died when I was in high school, or I mean, it was a big thing for me. But it was weird to me because people were sending out notes to each other like it was a big fucking joke. It's like, okay, number one, this is a human life being taken. That's big enough as it is, but this is an icon of a business and a part of probably 75% of their lives. I mean, I guarantee you there was more than a handful of those that had the little fucking beat up dolls of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, everybody had a fucking trampoline, and everybody was fucking laying elbow drops and fucking Hulk Hogan leg drops on each other. So it just bothered me that people would make light of the situation. He was an animated character, and everything I've read on him, like I was saying, said that he was a little different. And other guys in the business talked about him always staying in character. He was true to his character. Now, does that mean that was really, himself? Was that his character? Were they one and the same? To me, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously if he was willing to live and act like that all the time, it meant something to him. It was important to him, and he wanted to be there for the fans. So, I know there might be some weird demands, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, on this big, long fucking rant that I've gone on,
He
I think bygones need to be bygones, and the icon needs to be in there. And, especially with what happened with Miss Elizabeth and fucking Lex Luger and all that crazy bullshit, there needs to be some closure on that whole situation. And I think Macho Man needs to be fucking honored because he deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I could walk down the street, ask people who John Cena is, or ask who Randy Savage is, and I guarantee you I'll get more people that know who Randy Savage is.
Yeah, hands down. I because Macho Man earned it. Macho Man went out there. He did his thing. He wrestled. And frankly, thank the fuck Christ that you and I can sit here and call them wrestlers.
Yeah,
I am so sick of them saying superstar. If I have to say superstar or hear superstar out of Michael Cole's mouth one more time, I'm gonna fucking blow my brains out.
or what's this? Sports entertainer? No,
Oh my God, dude. They're wrestlers. They know they're wrestlers. They like being called wrestlers. I know that superstar sounds better in some cases, and that's fine. Call them that if you want to. They can call themselves that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they used to be called wrestlers, and he went out and he fucking earned it. He didn't have, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Cena here. It's just because he's a great entertainer and he's a good wrestler. He's great for the business. He's the face of the he's the face of the franchise. All this joking around with what's going on with the whole work with fucking Randy Orton and whatever. The reality is it's John Cena and it's always going to be John Cena until he's done. I mean the guy is fucking WWE.
John Cena goes out there and he's the man that does the fucking make a wishes. He's the one that goes out there, does the radio spots, the TV spots, and all that. He really works his ass off. And to be the face of the company, you have to do all that shit.
Yep.
Now that also like is CM Punk mad because he's not the face of the company? CM Punk does not want to fucking. He wants to be alone. He wants to be quiet. He doesn't want to do the make a wish. He doesn't want to do all that shit. That all that shit comes with being the face of the company, and you have to go out there. You have to do all that shit.
Yeah.
And if Punk is broke down right now, tired, wants to go home, then fucking let him go home. Whatever the fuck.
Yeah, as much as it frustrates me to have him shoved down your throat. And I'm sorry, but it just feels like that to me. They're not in some cases the current writers or for whatever reason they aren't following like the way it used to be, in the golden era or even in the attitude era. They would allow the fans to maybe have a little bit of say. And it's this weird oxymoron catch 22 because they make you think you have more of a say. They give you this ability to vote on it through the WWE app, which again, by the way, if Michael Cole says one more time I'm chopping my dick off and shoving it in my own asshole, they give you this illusion that you have more say in what's going on in the events, but you really don't. They're pushing their agenda on you, and they shove John Cena down your throat. This last Monday Night Raw, um, on what was yesterday, the 10th, February 10th. So last night on Raw, Cena kept talking about how this match against him and Randy Orton was going to define the new era. Are you fucking kidding me? It's about the 18th time that John Cena has wrestled Randy Orton.
This year.
Yeah, exactly. The fans are fucking chanting CM Punk and doing the fucking yes chant. And it's like, okay, obviously it's not defining an era. People are fucking sick and tired of it. I mean, anybody out there who listens to this that watched the Royal Rumble or listened to it or whatever or read reviews about it, it was a fucking travesty. It was a slap in the face. The goddamn fans were chanting, "We want divas," for Christ's sake. That's the ultimate insult. So, I appreciate the fact that they go out there every night and they do that. And if anybody, John Cena is a fucking baller. That guy is a workhorse. He will take every ounce that you give him. Fans like him and hate him both at the same time. It is the weirdest aura around any wrestler I've ever seen.
I
I can't understand it. He is total babyface, but people fucking hate his ass. Hate him. It's crazy to me.
I think you got to do something like Cena's always putting over Daniel Bryan in all of his promos. Like, okay, yeah, we get it, you like him, and why don't we have a fucking Cena Bryan feud?
Oh, with Cena as the heel.
Yes,
I've been saying that since I started really watching Raw again heavily about 3-4 years ago.
and not even full blown heel, maybe just a little bit heel would work. But the fans they are going to be cheering their asses off for Bryan and booing Cena.
Yeah.
Shit,
No,
you don't even have to make him heel. He's going to get booed either
but
way.
anyways,
But
yeah, that's actually true. You know, that again, that ties back into his just weird, his weird aura in the business is kind of like with him and Rock. You know, when he was wrestling the Rock, like he really wasn't heel. But I mean, at the same time, he really wasn't overly babyface because he got a little bit of that. He got caught up in some of that shit throwing with The Rock, I think, and he did a little atypical Cena, like when they were talking shit back and forth to each other. You know, he got a little heated there, so you got to see it, a little darker side, quote unquote, if you will, of John Cena. But you're right. I think you probably wouldn't even have to have it. As much as I want to see a heel turn with Cena, that would be fantastic. It'd just be too much risk for the business because they have too much tied up in him that they want him for merchandising and all the other bullshit. But yeah, you're right. You wouldn't even have to turn him heel because as soon as the Yes Chant started, I mean, you're going to have all of those John Cena fans that are kind of like on the fence but are really in love with the whole Daniel Bryan and the Yes movement. They're gonna just transfer right over, and you'll have them going crazy with the Yes Chant. It'll be great. It'd be fantastic.
it'd be a great match to watch. I mean, but Cena's not bad performer, but Daniel Bryan is magnificent. Daniel Bryan can make anybody look good, except Batista.
Well, I've really been trying to watch Cena's matches closer, and I will say this though, as much as I was so sick of and wanted to hate the match that he had last night with Orton because of them ramming this horseshit down my throat that it's the match that defines a century. No, it's not the match that defines the new era. Are you fucking kidding me? Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania with fucking Mike Tyson crawfishing and punching him in the face and going with. I mean, that was a huge match. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Fucking one of the greatest matches of all time, hands down.
Or Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve
Well,
Austin at
Steve
that
Austin.
WrestleMania.
Oh fuck yeah!
And the,
Or you can even go farther back to like all the old school golden era shit where Hulk Hogan, versus Andre the Giant or Hulk and Mr. T versus our boy Roddy Piper, and
yeah,
yeah. So I don't know, but it wasn't. But that did you see that the fucking leg drop from the top rope
I
that he pulled
I
off?
I have not watched last night's Raw. Actually, I watched up until the part Bray Wyatt gave Rey Mysterio that fucking all in one fluid motion fucking Sister Abigail.
Oh,
And
you texted me that.
yeah, and I fucking drowned myself in my own jizz. I was passed out there for the next 12, 14 hours.
Yeah, no, that you texted me that. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm at fucking work, and I get this text message that says, "Oh my God, Bray Wyatt just killed Rey Mysterio," and I thought you were totally fucking serious. I was like, "Holy shit!" That's just fucking karma, right? Because of the whole Over the Edge pay-per-view, which, I'd like to get to in a little bit. But I'm like, I thought he fucking killed him. And so then, of course, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch it live. I actually just watched it myself. But because I was staying in a hotel room, and then the hotel room was on East Coast time. But luckily, I have Dish Network, and I was able to access it from my phone. And up until I fell asleep, I got to that almost exact same point. I'm watching this match on my iPhone 5 on this little fucking screen, laying in this hotel bed, waiting and waiting and waiting to see what happened. And then all of a sudden, bam, he hits it. And just like you said, it was like a fucking Tijuana rag doll.
Yeah, that's the most beautiful one I've seen yet. What a weird name for a finisher too, Sister Abigail. I
Oh,
mean,
I
but
love it.
but what a whole weird aura that the whole Wyatt family has about him. It's magnificent. It's like the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. His promos, holy shit, man.
And are we talking about the Wyatts, the whole team, or just Bray Wyatt? Because honestly, I'm thinking it's just Bray Wyatt himself.
Yeah. No, I think you could stick any two nutless fucking monkeys next to him. I mean, the goddamn Energizer Bunny and that fucking leprechaun fuck from Lucky Charms could be standing next to Bray Wyatt, and I would still be completely in love with the Wyatt family. I love the look. I like the whole dirty, bearded look and the whole sheep mask. Whoever thought that up is a fucking genius. It's totally random. It makes no goddamn sense, and I love it. That's perfect. That's old school.
I can sure tell you who it wasn't, and it wasn't Vince Russo.
I was gonna go there. I was gonna.
Yeah, it's so fucking awesome, and I like watching wrestling when I'm watching that. His fucking promos, it's just holy shit.
Nope.
It draws me in. That's fucking wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there has not been, and like I said, it's been again. I fell from the wayside a little bit there. Life kind of took over, and I missed Raw for a couple years there. Regularly at
And
least.
we
But
we didn't miss anything apparently.
yeah, apparently it was about 4 years of Batista. That was about it. Um, but his promos, would put up there with just about anyone. Like it reminds me of old school Undertaker, like with Paul Bearer when you didn't know, like this guy was crazy. Like you were Bray Wyatt when he talks, it makes me feel like a kid again. It's like I get so sucked into it that this guy is just a sick, twisted, psychotic
Maybe
fuck.
sprinkle in a little bit of Jake the Snake in there.
Yeah, maybe Mick Foley. I kind of think a little bit of Mick Foley just because of how weird he
The
is. And
weirdness, yeah.
yeah, weird factor, the darkness of the Undertaker, but like that, the vicious mic skills of Jake the Snake. That's good. I like that.
And his entrance theme, it doesn't make sense. Like it's so weird. I mean, you think you hear his entrance theme, it's like, oh, what's this? And then something dark and weird comes out, and it
Yeah.
doesn't match, but it fits. It's kind of hard to explain.
And what was so weird about it was like what WWE was doing with him to promote it. For me, those whole promoting, I get it, and they've always done it. And when I was a kid,
Oh, the
maybe they,
vignettes.
yeah, maybe they just did a better job of it. Like, I mean, I remember the whole Y2J thing with the countdown, and nobody really knew what was going on, and some people kind of thought, and you don't know, and then bam, the music hits, and there he is. That was amazing. Or Val Venus, the whole Val Venus thing was fantastic. Um, but what they were doing with the Wyatt family, it just wasn't doing it for me. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. This whole gimmick is going to be dumb, you know. And I just didn't like it, and I don't know why. I now looking back, I'm surprised that I didn't because of how much I like this guy. But those, what did you call them, vignettes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I just didn't care for him.
just for the record, you don't watch NXT either, so you didn't know what was coming up.
Well, now I'm catching it like, through cage side, and then, I'm trying to, like, I'm Googling like for highlights or just updates. So watching it live, no, but following matches and some of the talent, yes.
Okay.
And like I said, the reason why wasn't necessarily anything other than that I managed to get ringside seats to a house show. So when it came to Spokane, Washington, I live here in Post Falls, Idaho, which is about 10, 15 minutes from downtown Spokane. I managed to get myself, my girlfriend, and then one of my good friends from over here. I got us ringside, and this Rusev character came out, and I knew a little bit about NXT, obviously from the whole Nexus angle and the invasion and NXT and yada yada yada, and some of the old talent that had came up, and so I knew about it, but I didn't really follow it as much. And then when this Rusev character came down to the ring, um, that to me made me feel like I was back in Madison Square Garden in the 70s, because the whole accent, the broken English, I mean, it totally made me feel like, very old school to me. I liked it. I mean, he was good. The performance was good. I thought. I mean, I thought he did a good job. I wasn't overly critical. but just the whole demeanor, and then they've got him paired up with this gal as his mouthpiece, and I'm really digging it. I'm pretty excited for this character to see what happens, because to me that screams, old school, circa 1970s.
Well, they've done a pretty good job in NXT as of late, signing some good indie talent finally. And I think Vince McMahon or Triple H or whoever runs that shit down there has finally let go of the indie grudge that they've had. They've signed people like, you know who El Generico is, right?
Yeah,
He's wrestling down there as Sami Zayn, and that guy is incredible. I can't wait till he gets called up. You know, they recently let go of Chris Hero.
no, I didn't hear that actually.
Biggie Langston was a good call up since we're
Oh,
talking about
great call up. I really I like that. At first, I like how they set him up. They set him up well, and I kind of saw it coming. Where he was, Dolph Ziggler's heavy. I mean, it reminded me of Vincent with the Million Dollar Man, where it's just this big, menacing character. Doesn't talk much. When he does, it's to the point. Just brutal. I really liked how they set that up, and then now have turned him loose with the Intercontinental title,
oh yeah.
which, yeah, I'd really love now that they've chosen to put the heavyweight title and the WWE title together. I would really like to see, and give me your thoughts on this, where I would really like to see that title help bring the Intercontinental belt back to what it was.
Well,
Mr. Perfect and all these older wrestlers. That belt used to mean something.
it's a weird thing. I don't like this whole fact that it's a mid card belt. And I mean low mid card. I mean they're handing this thing out to everybody.
It's worse. It's worse than the United States Championship, for Christ's sake. That the U.S. belt since Dean, and granted, some of that is Dean Ambrose. Some of that is Dean Ambrose. That guy's amazing in my opinion. But I digress. I agree with you. The U.S. belt, to me, right now, in the eyes of the fans and the WWE, seems like it has more clout than the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. And see, they give the Intercontinental title to people who just fucking walked in, like Curtis Axel. I mean, for
Uh,
fuck's sake, that guy can't even cut a decent promo or fucking wrestle, and they give him they gave him the Intercontinental title.
yeah.
You don't give that guy a belt ever. I mean, people walk in, and the first thing they do is get the Intercontinental. It's like a rookie belt. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that?
Yeah, no, it's just like the old WCW TV title used to be. I mean, it got handed out to low level mid carders, and it's just sad because there's so much history. And then it's just funny that we're even talking about this because on Cage Side they've got that whole best belt of all time. And that belt with the white strap is just fucking
Oh
gorgeous.
yeah,
I, mean,
it's
I think
beautiful.
that belt is just a fucking gorgeous belt. It carries so much flair and so much panache. It's amazing, and it's sad that not. I'm not trying to talk Biggie Langston down. I actually like that choice. I like what they did with it there. But I know you and I have talked in the past about this, and now that they've consolidated the titles, and you're going to have one champion, as a quote unquote undisputed champion. I want to see a Daniel Bryan title reign. I'm so in on. I am all in on this Yes movement. I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan. Great performer. He's from my home state of Washington. I'm going to back the guy up. Thick and thin. And I want to see a Bryan title reign with a John Cena Intercontinental Champion. That's what I want to see, because I think if anyone can help regain legitimacy to that belt, it's going to be John Cena. And like you said, putting it on Daniel Bryan, I think is going to hinder him. It's going to, because that belt still carries with it um, that aura. It carries that negativity with it. I think that's gonna bring him down. It's not going to help put him over the edge. People are tired of seeing him get fucked around and they want that title belt on him and to stay there longer than fucking 16 hours. And then you throw it on John Cena, and I think of anyone in the business right now in that stable of guys that they have, that'll bring instant credibility, instant legitimacy to it because he has so many diehard hardcore fans. And then the people that hate him don't really care anyways because as far as they're concerned, it's a mid card belt. Next thing you know, Cena carries the Intercontinental title for 6 months, 9 months, whatever. People, are used to hearing him say John Cena Intercontinental title, and then you've got a Daniel Bryan versus John Cena title for title match,
It
old school throwback.
it used to be that. I mean, it seems like now if you win the WWE Championship, that now you can't have the Intercontinental belt anymore because that's not good enough, you know. And I mean, back in 2002, Triple H held the Intercontinental belt. Randy Orton in 2003 held the Intercontinental belt. I mean, for fuck's goddamn fuck. 2005, Ric Flair held the Intercontinental belt. And then it just went downhill. It just went down. Santino Marella in 2008 had the Intercontinental belt.
Okay, we didn't need to mention
No,
that name shouldn't have even been mentioned in the last four names, in
no.
my opinion.
And then, in 2009, CM Punk gets it. Then JBL gets it. I
Yeah,
mean, that's pretty cool.
yeah, I
And
agree.
then you pollute it with people like Drew McIntyre, Kofi Kingston, Wade
Well,
Barrett.
that's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about Drew McIntyre, and that whole angle when he came on, and then Vince McMahon went out on SmackDown, and Vince McMahon said that he was going to be, the chosen one. He was going to be the next best thing. Um, I really like that angle with him, and I'm kind of sad to see that he got caught up where he did in this whole 3MB thing. I mean, it's sad because I mean when he first came in, he's got talent, and that angle I thought was really going to push Drew over the edge.
Now he's just forgotten about.
And it's because that they are so convoluted and crowded with talent. There are so many guys on there, and some of them just get lost in the shuffle. And one guy in particular, I was reading an article the other day that was talking about the term jobbers. And the article was talking about jobbers in the business, and then what it means to be a true jobber, and then it just asked in the comments section that we talk about who comes to mind when you say jobber, and a lot of guys brought up wrestlers from the past, 80s, 90s, WCW, some of the old NWA guys, AWA. But for me right now, the first name that came to my mind, and it really makes me sad, is Zack Ryder. I mean, it came to my mind immediately. It's like the last time I saw him on TV, they didn't even have his entrance music. He didn't even get an entrance. He's just standing there in the ring with his dick in his hands with the very last second of his music. That's it. That's all you get to see of him. I mean, it's like it makes me sad because he's got talent. He's got it. I really think he does. The kid's got the look. He's got the style. He's got the talent. I mean, he can move. I mean, he's really good at what he does. I mean, and even as a jobber, if there can be a positive thing there, the kid
And there
sells a
there
lot.
used to be a positive jobber, but go ahead. I'll
Yeah.
get to that in a minute.
Um, so yeah, like I said, if there could be a good thing about it, he can sell it. Even at the house show, he lost in the house show. It was him versus Rusev. They were putting Rusev over or trying to, on this build to. And I figured since if he was at a house show, he was soon to be on the card for WWE on Monday night or SmackDown. But here at a house show in front of maybe 8,000 people in bumfuck Spokane, Washington. I guess I can't say that; it's the second largest city in Washington. But in Spokane, Washington, Here he loses. And I'll tell you what, that guy sold it the whole way to the back. The whole way to the back. Like he lost the match. You know, whether he was hurt for real or not, I don't know. I mean, it looks like he took kind of a beating a couple times. But, you know, he sold it the whole way. He sulked. He looked sad. He looked beaten. He looked depressed. You know, he crept. He didn't walk. He didn't saunter. He didn't slap anybody's hands. You know, he didn't play sunshine and fucking rainbows and, you know, march out of the ring happy as it can be with his fucking, you know, dick in his hands. He crawled back to and made it. He sold it. He sold it. And I like that about him is he really can sell a loss better than just about anybody. And I know in the past that was a good thing, but you know, you were talking earlier about having, you know, a good jobber. You know, what elaborate on that for me.
Back in the 90s, and even back in the 80s and 90s, they'd have these jobbers come in from wherever, maybe local talent. A lot of times it was local talent. Sometimes they'd fly people out or whatever. Mick Foley was a jobber 10 years before he even came into WWE. And I think it was in the 80s, the late 80s. He was on WWE programming. And Matt and Jeff Hardy were also a couple of jobbers that came in. But back then, it used to give talent like that a little bit of a taste for TV. But now anymore, it just seems like you just become a jobber. Like Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder had a pretty good push a year ago, maybe, when he won the USA belt. And at that time, the USA belt did, for that moment, for that reign, it did mean something. Because the fans were going crazy for Zack Ryder. Everyone was going crazy. And then here he gets the USA belt. He was in the crowd after he won his match, holding up the belt. And people were holding him up. It was the fucking greatest thing ever.
Yeah. And I missed that for him because, you know, I really, really hoped that was going to carry over, you know, and it, you know, I guess it is what it is. But I mean, at the same token, what I think about a lot is Tommy Dreamer. You like Tommy Dreamer when he was in, you know, ECW.
Yeah.
That fucker never won. He lost every fucking week. Every week he would lose. He fucking got his ass kicked every time, all the time, every time. He fucking got his ass whipped. But fans loved it. Fans loved it. I mean, and people loved him.
Well,
He sold the loss. And I think that, you know, Zack Ryder's, I'm hoping that's the same type of thing. And then at some point, you know, he might get another push or another bump. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in creative. They might pair him up with you know, him and somebody might tag together and then, you know, bada bing, bada boom. You know, next thing you know, they're the next best thing. They're the tag team champions. They go crazy. They then feud with each other, split, and they're both champion. I mean, you never know. But what I try to tell myself, because I like the guy as far as an entertainer so much, is, you know, that it's like Tommy Dreamer, is that he's so good at selling a loss that he can help push other guys over and just wait for his turn.
Well, WWE failed to explode on Zack Ryder. Now, let me use your Tommy Dreamer as a reference here. Tommy Dreamer, when he first came in, he was hated. He was hated by the ECW crowd. They just didn't buy into his shit. And slowly and slowly, they started liking him. Slowly and slowly, and it wasn't until that match with Sandman, and it was the Singapore caning match, where Sandman beat him with that stick, beat him repeatedly, to the point where Sandman was almost crying. They could feel that emotion in the whole crowd. They could feel that. And that right there won the fans' respect, the wrestlers' respect, and then they exploded on Tommy Dreamer. And when Zack Ryder won that US belt, and he had his little moment there, that's where they needed to explode on him, right there. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was a missed opportunity. And there's such a population in the WWE locker room right now. It is overcrowded. I don't know what happened to it. It just one day it just ceased to be a brand separation. You know, we had the Raw, and we had the SmackDown. And I
Yeah.
remember when it happened, it was the Raw SmackDown Super shows for about a month, and then they just kind of got rid of that, and it was a Raw Super show every fucking week without calling it that, and it was gone. You remember do you remember the lottery drafts or whatever the fuck?
Yep.
Those were fucking fun.
Absolutely.
I don't know whatever fucking happened to that, but we need those SmackDown and we need that Raw groups back.
Yeah, I agree with that to some degree. You know, at the same time, though, I can follow what the business is trying to do because it diversifies your crowd and it limits your audience. So if you say that John Cena is only going to be on Monday nights, do you know how many fucking people are not even going to bother watching
That's why
SmackDown?
you got to make SmackDown just as equally good.
But
Or
but who but at this but then that means you need to have one of the most rare things ever in the business is you need to have two guys as over as John Cena at the same time. And the last time you had that was Stone Cold Steve Austin before he left in 2002 and The
well,
Rock.
here's the thing.
That
How about we have a Raw draft, keep John Cena on Raw and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown.
I would that would make me watch SmackDown more than I do now. I can tell you that much right now. But as of right now, SmackDown for me, I follow about the same way I do NXT. I read the results and then I listen to comments and try to watch a few highlights. Or if obviously if they cut something onto Raw about it. But right now, as much as I love Daniel Bryan, and as much as he has a cult following, that would kill or slow the Yes movement. It would definitely hinder it, and he's not as over as John Cena.
Well, another
Uh,
another thing is you got to make SmackDown live. I mean, come on.
yeah. Well, did you read that that's actually what WWE has been trying to do for a long
They've
time?
done it before,
It's
yes.
they want to move SmackDown from Friday nights because traditionally that slot is considered the death slot. And now that they're coming up on a contract renegotiation, that's probably, from what I was reading, was going to be one of their most important transitions. Is they want to bring SmackDown to another night, whether it be live Tuesday night, which I don't know how well that would work. I mean, it might be kind of cool because then that cliffhanger from Monday Night Raw, you get just a little bit of it. Tuesday, like the next day, you get back to back days of wrestling, and then almost like a
That
weekend. You know what I mean? It's
that's
like,
almost
oh,
that's
cool.
almost a little too much though.
That's my fear. I agree with you. That's my fear. It's like, okay, you just had 3 hours of Raw, which some days are good, and other days I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You could have edited out half of this motherfucker, and I could have watched 45 minutes of this, and I'd have been
I got
fine.
an idea. Take SmackDown on Tuesday and move it over to Thursday and just totally kill TNA off. Just fucking put the knife in the back. Go. Just be gone. And let's see, you leave main event where it is. I mean, you also got to think that we have the network coming up, so
Yeah.
the whole landscape's gonna be changed.
The other beauty part is if you miss it that night, watch it the next day because it's still gonna fucking be
I
there.
can't wait for this network. It. You can watch it the next
So,
day. I don't have to hurry home from work or cut my hours from work. I can just watch it whenever later on that night. It's going to be a weird transition to get into because I like being on the live blog on Cage Side Seats. I like being able to vote on my phone, which I really can't anyways because I'm on West Coast time and they're on East Coast time, so my vote doesn't matter. But the app makes me pretend like it is. Fucking joke.
yeah, I downloaded it one time. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll check it out. I downloaded it one time and I fucking deleted it. I was like, oh my god, it's for kids. I mean, a lot of the programming and a lot that has to do with that business. When that TV 14 dropped to PG, it changed the core dynamic and it really did. You know, John Cena and was talking about this whole defining an era, blah blah blah. That did it. That changed the era. It was completely and utterly the end of the Attitude Era and an adjustment into a new one, which is fine. if you can perform in TV 14 and you're a good performer and you're a good wrestler, you're a good entertainer, you will learn and adjust your skills to be able to perform in a PG environment. And even now for PG, it's starting to get a little racier again. They've got a few things. There's an ass and a hell and a damn, and there's some stuff there that they weren't doing 2 years ago. That I see at least. Obviously, there's not Stone Cold Steve Austin yelling "goddamn son of a bitch" and going off crazy like he used to do. I'll never forget when Vince McMahon was questioning him about his language, and then he goes, "God damn, son, I'm trying to apologize." I mean, I'll never forget
Your
that. It
language, damn it.
yeah, it that era is gone, unfortunately. But it is what it
You can
is.
have great moments and still be PG. Like I actually like DX's PG run. You know, it was pretty funny, and they poked fun at it. And they poked fun at Shawn Michaels being a born again Christian. They
Yeah.
they did things like that, and it was entertaining and PG. I mean, Shawn Michaels super kicked a little girl. That's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, that's true.
But to get back on topic of the network, I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing. If they're still going to be having Raw on USA and SmackDown on Sci-Fi, or if it's just going to be network only, or if maybe later they're going to transition into that. I don't know. But
No, they'd have to keep those are SmackDown. I guess it's difficult to call a storied franchise, but Raw is the icon. I mean, they'll never that show's never going to come off the air until that business folds. Period. And there's not enough people yet that are doing things streaming. There's a fuckload. There's a lot more than there used to be, but with DVR and then the average American with some form of a dish or satellite or digital cable provider, there's still too much money in bringing that programming to a major network because there's just so much money there, advertising and different facets there. So I don't think those are going to come off. They might move if USA doesn't pony up and pay a little bit more money for Raw, or if they don't do what they ask, well, then they might move both brands to the same network. And I think that if they could pull that off with USA, instead of having Raw on one channel and SmackDown on another, why the fuck don't they just put them on the same
which is
network?
another reason why I don't watch SmackDown is because I don't get Sci-Fi because it doesn't come with
Yeah,
my package. But I do
yeah.
know SmackDown is the highest rated show on Sci-Fi, so their Sci-Fi probably doesn't want to get rid of it.
Well, yeah, but shit, think about it. If it's one of the highest rated shows on Sci-Fi, okay, that speaks volumes about how many viewers. I mean, and I watch sci-fi sometimes, but everybody, like to get to your point of which packages get what, almost every fucking cable package gets USA, and it has since the inception. That's probably why it ended up on USA in the first place, because Vince McMahon's not dumb. So take SmackDown, move them both to one network, put them on the same channel because people will remember that. Oh, it's Raw night. Oh, it's SmackDown night, but it's on the same network. And you're not having to tune into another channel and you forget about it. It's like it'll just become like it's like Friday Night Raw or Thursday Night Raw, but it's called SmackDown. I mean, you put it on the same network. I just that's one thing that I never understood was this constant jumping around from when they started. When we were kids, they started to try that. If you remember, I mean, obviously they always had Saturday Night Main Event or they had something going on the weekends.
Shotgun
But
Saturday Night, remember that shit?
exactly, yep,
I
absolutely.
loved it.
You know, so I mean, those were great moments because it's like you were in school, you didn't, you were on a weekend break, you didn't have to worry about it. It's Saturday night, you're up way later than you're supposed to. You're flipping between
Mad TV.
Saturday Night Live, Mad TV, yeah, you're all over the place. And then here's Saturday Main Event on regular fucking TV. It was usually on like some little bumfuck network at WB or whatever you get with regular TV at the time, UPN or whatever, depending on where you live. But they kept jumping it around, and then SmackDown was here, and then it was there, and then they were moving it. There was a Fox and all over the place. I never understood why they couldn't get an agreement with USA to bring that programming in for a second show on a different night. And I just it doesn't make any sense to me, because if you're trying to keep brand loyalty, I work in the auto business, so I mean, when it comes to brand loyalty, you have to create habits with people. In the car business, it's all about habits and following trends.
Constant.
The same is Exactly. The same is true in this form of business. Is why don't they put both franchise shows onto one network? It just, to me, that's what I always thought. I don't know.
See, I think the shows are going to air on the network immediately after it goes off air on TV. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, but a lot of, I don't know. I mean, with streaming, I use my PlayStation 3 for Netflix. So basically, WWE Network is going to be the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. WWE Network is going to be the same thing as me logging into Netflix. But you know what? I'm a lazy ass fucking microwave generation fucking American. That's one extra goddamn step that I have to go
Oh,
through.
you're not going to get it?
No, of course I'm gonna get it. Are you fucking kidding me? It's got over 1,000 hours of footage. I can go back and I can watch Roddy Piper beat the shit out of Goldust and jerk off all over myself if I want to.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't wait for the network to come out. I'm so sick of Netflix. I've watched every fucking thing on Netflix.
yeah,
There's
3 times
so
over.
much wrestling I want to watch, man. What are you
Yeah.
going to watch first?
Boy, first,
I
man.
think I want to watch that Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, that fucking bloody face fucking double turn at WrestleMania. That is a match that defines a new era.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, what do I want to watch? Shit.
The options are endless, man. You have every pay-per-view. You even have Owen Hart.
You know,
And that's going to
honestly,
be a weird one to watch. Let me tell you a little story about that.
I'll tell you which one I just to get that in, to get it in before I forget about it. The one I'll tell you what pay-per-view I'm going to watch first. It's the heel turn of Hulk Hogan in WCW.
Okay.
I'm going to watch that match when he comes down to the ring. Everyone thinks he's going to save the day, and he fucking drops the leg on Macho Man, and that's the birth of the NWO. That's the first pay-per-view I'm going to watch.
All right. Yeah, it's either going to be that or I I love. I just want to watch the match again because I'll watch it I watch it at YouTube all the time. It's one of my most favorite matches of all time. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker.
Ugh.
1 and 2. They're both fucking holy shit.
I've watched that, man. I was actually going to watch that match tonight. That's funny that you said that because it's on Netflix because it's got the Undertaker streak.
Oh yeah.
And I went through and was watching, some of the older matches that he had. Actually, the two that I watched were when he was as the American Badass. Those were
Okay.
two that I watched. The one that he had with Triple H.
Isn't it funny how the streak started out? It was such shitty matches. Like you
Yeah,
have fucking who the fuck that Giant Gonzalez? That match was fucking shitty.
yeah,
And yeah, the streak just started off so bad. I mean, it's a miracle that it's even a streak. Some of those got like you would have thought Vince McMahon he would have tried to push Giant Gonzalez because he's so big and bad and fucking let's put him up against the Undertaker and go over. There's so many times that you would have think that the other guy would have gone over, but he didn't. And then it finally became the streak. But some of those early matches, Jesus Christ, they definitely got better with age.
well, I think they realized what they'd done.
Yeah, I
I
think so
I,
too.
I almost think it was just total fucking shithouse luck. I don't think anyone thought this up that like at match 2 they decided, oh, the fucking Undertaker is going to be undefeated. I just think some fucking just by sheer fucking luck, 8 or 9 matches into it, they realized, oh, Undertaker's been undefeated, and then after fucking after fucking JR said that enough times, you know, oh, he's undefeated. After that happened enough
Because
times by
JR
like
being the
years,
trivia fucking history buff that he is.
yeah. Then they kind of went, oh, this is a good idea. Now then it became a selling point for WrestleMania, and then after it became a selling point, it transcended into now it's epic. It's beyond the
Yeah,
business.
that's what
So
it looks like. History will tell you right there. So we got off topic a little bit here. With our rants. It's the Garner way of doing things.
the only thing that would make these rants better is if there was a third party on our podcast at some point, and
Oh God.
we could
Oh
get Jim
God.
Cornette on because it would never end.
Jim Cornette. He is highly appreciated in these parts.
I
Jim
agree.
Cornette, you are always welcome on our podcast.
Yeah, well, hopefully one day, we can, make that come true. That would be fantastic.
And as of us recording this, it is February 11th, 2014. There's about 16 hours left of this Kickstarter, and by the time you guys hear this, it'll be well over. But I'm glad I got to donate a little piece into that UK documentary.
Yeah, and that's something that I had emailed Jim and told him that I was appreciative of an autographed picture that he sent back for me to you actually, and then that I had intended on donating as well. So that'll be something that I do either this evening before I go to bed, or probably first thing in the morning. Is I'll probably log in to the Kickstarter account and then donate some funds.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm glad it got off the ground. So that's awesome. Anyways, we got off topic again. We got off topic about talking about getting off topic. Can you believe that shit?
That's that just shows the passion that we have for the
Yeah,
business.
that's the Garner way of things here. So the network, we were talking about what we're gonna watch first, and I said WrestleMania 25, and we're also getting ECW and WCW. You had mentioned WCW, the NWO turn, or the Hulk Hogan NWO thing, and yeah, that's pretty cool. What do you think? There's a lot of controversy right now about showing the Over the Edge 1999 pay-per-view. Well, there was a lot of forgotten stuff in that. That was the very first pay-per-view I ever paid my own money to watch. Me and my buddy Colt Sanders, we bought the pay-per-view. We 50-50'd it. We went up to his house out in the middle of fucking butt-fuck nowhere, Beaverton. Ate pizza. We're watching this fucking pay-per-view. And then, it wasn't even an hour into it. Owen Hart had fallen. And wasn't too long after that, JR announced to everybody he was dead. And you could tell immediately that it was real.
Yeah.
It was just the sadness about it and everything. You could tell the crowd and everybody was dead. It really bummed the whole night.
That whole event was. I mean, at the time, you paid your hard-earned money for it. Somehow, when we got cable, and I have no idea how to explain this, but basically, what happened was when my parents moved into a house from an apartment. They bought their first house, and we moved in. There was a major power surge that knocked out basically every electrical appliance in our house. So we filed a claim with the insurance company, got all these new TVs, set everything up, got cable. Well, somehow when we got cable, I ended up getting every single pay per view ever. I got every one. Every single pay per view came in. I got boxing, I got wrestling. So from like 90, oh, when did my
How the
parents
fuck does
divorce?
that happen?
Yeah, I just got every one of them. So like, and we didn't pay anything. I got every pay per view. It was like some weird glitch. It was like the most perfect fucking glitch that as a kid you could ever have. I had WrestleMania parties. I had all kinds of shit. I got every one of them. So from like 95
When did it?
to when my parents split in 97, I got every fucking pay per view, every one of them.
Wow.
And so I watched, and then it even carried on to um, basically, well, as long as my mom paid the bill, because my parents split in '97, and then because I was 12 going on 13. No, it would have been '98, and then my mom had the house up till '99, and that would explain how I watched Over the Edge because I had that pay per view. So basically, from like '95 to '99. So like 4 year period run there, I got like every fucking pay per view. So I put WCW, WWF, everything. Um, and I watched that live, and the thing that it was Jr. was like he didn't know what to say, but what really sold that, and I knew instantly that it wasn't bullshit, was King. If you look at Jerry Lawler's
Yeah.
face,
Yes.
it's fucking sickness. Like it's like how do what he? I mean, he is like he saw a fucking ghost, man. I mean,
That's what I remember the most too. That's how I knew too, is because you knew King back in the day. This was
yeah,
different. This is the first time I'd ever seen it out of him.
yeah, because he
I've
was
seen him act it since then, but that was the first time that I'd ever seen it like that, and it was just sickening.
yeah, it was sad. I mean, it,
I don't ever recall talking about this with you, and
I don't think we ever did. Even after he died, we still talked and saw each
oh yeah, we
other.
were really close in right around 1999 too.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I'm sure we would have had a conversation about it, but I mean, not one that I really thought of like in a heartfelt. I think we were just kids and we didn't understand. Like we knew it was serious, but you're so caught up into the business that like you get sucked right back into the storyline because of how young you were. Not that you don't appreciate the severity of what happened, but you're so caught up in the storyline that it seems like it's a TV show or a movie, and like it's almost like it's not real, even though you want it to be real. And in this case, it actually did happen. So, I mean, I think we would have talked about it and said, "God, did you hear about Owen Hart? That's fucking crazy," and then left it at that. I mean, I don't think we had the intelligence or the profound knowledge that we do now. Had that happened at our ages now, that would be totally different. Like I told you earlier, with the whole my reaction to Rey Mysterio with your text message, you know, oh my God, Bray Wyatt just killed Rey Mysterio. I about shit. I was like, I took that
Yeah,
literally, and
his knees go
I
exploding out. And
yeah,
what do you think about them showing it on the network?
I think it's the right
Me
decision.
too.
I mean,
It's part of
it's
history.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, you can't, and that's the one thing that pisses me off about WWE is, and sometimes they try to edit history, and this is the first time that they aren't. You're going to be able to watch fucking Chris Benoit matches
Unedited.
unedited. You will get to watch Chris Benoit on WCW, on WWE Pro. I mean, you'll get to watch Chris Benoit, the person that they don't ever even. It's like they never existed, you know.
And they have a good
And I
reason, but
no, I agree. The guy, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm just
you
saying,
want
you know,
to.
it,
They just recently left off the Chris Benoit and Triple H Shawn Michaels match on Shawn Michaels' new DVD. Which
yeah,
sure it wasn't. I mean, it was special, but I guess it could have been left off and still get the
yeah.
point across that Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania, and I can't wait to get that fucking DVD because that shit is gonna be awesome.
Tomorrow, I think, is when it. I thought it's or today
Yeah, it was
actually. I think because
today.
yeah. Well, the one thing that I will also that I hope, and I don't know this. I mean, I don't know the legalities of it, but it seems like it's changed recently. But in some of the older documentaries and things that I've watched, they tend to anything that has the WWF, the old symbol, they blur it
That's all
out.
fixed now. See,
Okay.
that was a suit going back to the WWF thing, and they couldn't use the scratch logo, but they got that cleared up last year, and it's
Okay.
in a lot of the recent documentaries. The most
Yeah,
recent
I
ones,
know
they
that.
brought it back, and I can't fucking wait because it's been so long since. I mean, sure, I can go on YouTube, but it's shitty quality.
Oh yeah, this is going to be high quality. Well, I mean, obviously it's not 1080. I think they're only doing 720, but I mean, hey, that's better than a kick in the nutsack. They're doing basically HD quality matches. I mean, I could get a wild hair in my ass and want to watch Bash at the Beach from '93, or whatever. I could just fucking randomly come up with something and go, oh, I want to watch Nitro where I want to watch the Nitro where Hogan dropped the belt to Goldberg, or I can watch a Monday night with Stone Cold when he was doing the Santa Claus. I mean, it's just I can pick any match. I can just watch wrestling. To me, that's amazing. Like when I come home, if I want to watch wrestling like all the time now, I've become more addicted to it. To the programming. I'm starting to feel like I was when I was a kid again, and I like that feeling. And I don't have enough. I can't get enough of it. Like you said, I've watched the Netflix documentaries 5 times a piece. Like I can almost recite the Road Warriors one because I like it so much because Jim Cornette's on it. And to see Jim Cornette on a WWE is pretty awesome because after, I mean, obviously there's probably some lack of love. There's some love lost there, at some point. But Jim Cornette's talking about it when he made some commentary on that. So I watched that 5 times. I can almost recite half of the documentary.
That's something I hope they bring into the network is some of those some of those other territories like Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Hope they have a show, and I hope Jim Cornette can host it because I will watch every Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'd like to go back to some world class championship wrestling.
Yeah.
Watch some of those great matches. So a lot of people got their start there. I want to watch that right there is fucking real wrestling. I tell you what, I won't be watching. It won't be anything 2006 to 2011. That will have
Yeah.
absolutely zero views from my eyeballs. Or my
Well,
favorite era, 1993 to 99.
I would push that to 2002.
Oh,
I mean, myself, I don't know. I'm basically of the same fan of you as far as eras are concerned.
I just didn't
It's
watch from 2001 to like 2002, 2003, 2004. Like those years, I just didn't watch. And it
yeah,
was
I
some
was in high
dark
school.
times in my life.
I know.
I mean, even darker from me and you. But at least
No, I
when
know
we were
that.
hanging out, like 90, what, 8, 99, that
Yep.
was
Or
right in the middle of the Attitude Era. I mean, you
yeah,
remember
that
me,
was
I had a wrestling almanac that told you every stat that every wrestler had, every belt, every this and that. I studied that motherfucker. I took it to fucking church when grandma would take us to fucking church. Everyone would have their psalms or whatever the fuck, and here I had a wrestling almanac. But wrestling was like my life. Like I couldn't shut the fuck up about it. I bought the music CDs,
these. Yeah.
and I even bought a music CD that was covers of the real ones. You remember that? It had like
Yep.
God of
Well, that.
Thunder, and it was a cover, and it had like DX, and it was a shitty cover.
Yep.
But I don't care. I still had it.
Didn't we? Well, we got that one. You got that one by mistake, didn't
Yeah, I
you?
got fucking hose bagged.
Yeah. We thought we were getting because we bought two. We were together when we got those,
Yeah, it was
right?
Volume 4, the green
Yeah.
one, and then some fucking
Yep.
piece of shit cover one.
Yeah, that was badass because that like the ones that we had. I mean, they had them all. Like, I mean, obviously Stone Cold, but it was like you had Ahmed Johnson and
Yeah.
fucking Vader. I mean, it was all. It was awesome. I liked Ahmed Johnson's entrance. That was pretty
And we
impressive.
used to wrestle in that fucking trailer. We used to.
You want to know who administered probably the greatest pile driver I've ever seen was
Who?
you. I'll never forget in grandma's front yard, Casey Garner. We laid down cardboard boxes in the front yard in front of God and everybody because there's a main arterial road that runs right by the house, so there was always traffic. Casey grabbed his little sister and they were kind of wrestling a little bit, and he laid a pile driver, not a pussy ass tombstone pile driver where you fall on your knees, the same fucking pile driver that almost crippled fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin. He laid the fucking pile driver on his sister, and it was the most realistic looking thing I've ever seen in my life because I was like 2 feet away from a real pile driver. I was shocked that it even happened. It was
What did
amazing.
my sister do?
She just laid there like, totally like kind of like she did the Vince McMahon flinch, like how McMahon would get when Stone Cold stunned his ass and he laid he hit that some bitch with the Stone Cold stunner and he fucking gets all twitchy. That's what she did. She got a little twitchy and then you pinned her right there on the cardboard
My fucking
boxes.
sister would sell. She is the best at selling. That fucking bitch. I would walk. I shit you not. I would walk right beside her. I'd be 2 feet away from her. I wouldn't even look at her. And just to get me in trouble, she would go flying across the fucking room, smash herself into it through a table, and maybe take out a couple chairs, and start crying and screaming and fucking telling my parents that I had fucking hit her. She
Yeah.
would sell the fucking shit out of some fucking thing. I'd push her just a little bit, fucking go flying into the dishwasher and screaming and crying. Till finally one day my dad fucking witnessed the whole thing. Finally busted her ass. He said my sister should have been a fucking wrestler. She'd sell 100 times better than any of these fucking bitches.
Yeah, that is one thing with the whole Divas franchise that I'm frustrated with is
Beth Phoenix
for
was a
for
good wrestler, and she
what
split.
Lita.
Lita was a fucking excellent.
I miss her, and I'm glad they're putting her. Oh, you haven't watched it yet. She's the third inductee into the Hall of
Yeah, I read
Fame.
that on Cage Side today. That's
Okay.
fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Lita's a great wrestler. I want to say AJ Lee I like her as a wrestler.
she's
Yeah,
talented.
I really like her submission, except it's fake as all hell. It
So is the STF.
Yeah, that's another one. I think it was about 2 Raws ago, or maybe it was on the pay-per-view on the 2014 Royal Rumble that never happened. That
But
it was so loose. You could tell it didn't hurt. It was the loosest one I'd ever seen. It's like, come on, John Cena. Fuck, tighten that shit up. Make it look fucking believable.
yeah,
And then when fucking Randy Orton fucking turned it around, it was even worse. And John Cena is making these faces like he's selling it like fuck. And it's the worst one I'd ever seen, and it's just facepalm worthy. Like, are you kidding me?
yeah,
Tighten that shit up, or get a fucking better submission, cause that shit I ain't buying it.
yeah.
Um, but speaking of girl wrestlers, there's one right in front of my face, and I just can't. I don't know who it is. I mean, the Bella
The
twins aren't nothing special.
So yeah, the one I think that you're thinking of that I think could be great would be Snuka's kid.
Yes,
Is that the one?
yes.
Yeah, I mean she's a beast. I mean I mean like if they marketed her like China, she's I mean almost as big as China was. But I think right now that whole whereas like when Lita was wrestling, like women were actually legitimately trying to wrestle. Now I think it's become a franchise in and of itself where they're garnering women viewers because there's this crossover from the Total Divas show to they're wrestling but they're not really wrestling. It's not like the Attitude Era where there was some periods that there really wasn't a lot of wrestling going on. Chicks were just basically getting half naked
Yeah,
puppies.
that travesty.
Yeah, and doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, basically, they're kind of pretending like they're wrestling, but really it's just kind of a draw. They're just trying to bring in women and then basically have a reason to have this other network to basically sell shit to young
And
girls.
unfortunately, it's working.
Honestly, if you watch the Total Divas show, I don't know if you
I
have or
have
not.
not.
I have, and it is actually pretty entertaining because you get to see a side of the business because you get to see them as real people. I mean, there you get to see things like the USO with because one of the USOs is dating one of the Funkadactyls, and you get to see some of the dichotomy of their relationship. and how like he gets a little bit jealous and how they react about each other. You get to see Natty and Tyson Kidd, um, because obviously you don't fucking see Tyson Kidd on WWE on on Raw anymore for whatever reason. Um, you really get to see them as real people and what they go through. So I mean, obviously there's some fake drummed up bullshit, just like any quote unquote reality show. But the reason I like it is you get to see them as real people and what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, to some extent.
Yeah, I'll definitely dig into that. I really don't know anything about it, so I have nothing to add.
Well, folks, unfortunately, I think it's about time we got to wrap things up here. Um, Apologize that it's kind of turned into one giant bullshit session, between two family members. So I guess you can call this one, episode 0. On the next one, I think we'll probably try to keep things a little more structured, but we do appreciate you tuning into our
And
podcast.
nobody's listening right now. I probably tweet me at Casey Garner PDX if you have made it this far and let me know, just so
Yeah,
I
no
know.
shit. Yeah, and try not to slay us too hard if you have an ability to comment anywhere or whatever. This is our trial run. It's just two fans of the business, two fans of wrestling. Two big kids basically when it comes to watching the programming, and we just like to talk about it. And this is something that we had been kicking around for a while, and we had an opportunity to do it. And I think for future reference, we'll keep it a little more structured and to the point. And our ultimate goal is to start bringing in some guests.
You can get a hold of me at Casey Garner PDX on my Twitter account until I make one for the show specifically. I don't know, is there any way to get a hold of you, Jeremy? Or not at this
Uh,
moment?
well, at this moment, I'm going to go with the Ultimate Warriors entrance of "I am from parts unknown," even though I've made reference to where I live. But as far as for comments, if anything, this is Casey's baby right now. Contact him. If you hate my ass, go ahead and just let him know that, and I'm sure he'll be happy to pass it along to me. I don't have Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, or any of that god awful horse shit because I figure if anybody needs to get a hold of me, they'll just call my happy ass. Now, if this picks up, I may just very well create an account so that I can be contacted and obviously lambasted with praise or hatred, just because that would be fun. So at this point, please direct all comments and hatred, most likely, to
And
Casey.
to my Twitter account at Casey Garner PDX.